Submission in Idaho.
Oh, right.
So that's what he found out this book. And then after he returned back from mission, he applied and got accepted.
Oh, wow.
That was like almost 10 years.
You're following in his footsteps.
Yeah. Yeah. But I didn't.
That's fine. We'll get it.
I have a friend who was considering going to this, but she's at the Linux Society meeting.
Yeah.
I won't tell her she can't come. In fact, I hope you encourage her to come.
Oh,
Who is it?
She was saying that she wanted to go to the meeting, but she couldn't go. It was the same time as the Linux Society meeting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Who is it?
it was Carissa. I don't know if you know.
Doesn't sound ring a bell to me yet.
This is the society.
The actual version.
Well, we have 6 others that have all expressed interest that are trying to link up with us on the Google Hangouts. So I created a link so that we could be able to sync up that way. Yeah. Right now we don't have anybody else viewing, but I've had several people that expressed interest in coming or in trying to at least watch what's going on. I was trying to wait and drag my feet a little bit, see if we got anybody that added or would connect up with us. So far we just have 0 viewers now. Probably means I've done something wrong setting it up.
No.
What class do you take?
I've had security in the past. The 370 class. I've done project management, business intelligence and analytics, decision support systems, senior projects. No, I don't do programming very well. I stink at that.
Fair enough.
Anything that's not programming, I'll probably try.
Fair enough.
So what is the conference?
Let's see. That's why I'm trying to drag my feet so I don't have to repeat myself too many times. But it doesn't look like, I don't know if we're going to get people to join. It's not a good sign if people are asking me if it hasn't started yet. Oh, there we go. Somebody's on.
Hey.
Come back here. We have 1 viewer.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Can we do... Oh no, that's interesting. The chat, oh there it goes. It's just slow. It's because we're doing a hangout on the air and it broadcasts it over YouTube too, and so it slows it down a little bit. So, but at least a little bit, not a whole lot though. Usually, yeah. Okay. I think we're gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna share what's on my screen because I'll refer to a few things on my screen as we go. So most of you, there you go. Most of you should have seen the invitation that was sent out. Now we're going to go into, let's see. Most of you should have seen the invitation that was sent out. Did you pay attention to the required reading or the recommended reading? I thought it was quite funny. That's why I did.
You mean the zombie thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, suggested reading. That's what it was. Huh? I should have had all this stuff before I came in. Okay. So this is the recommended reading to prepare for such an event. Preparedness 101, the zombie pandemic. You can't see it very well?
I can send it to you if you'd like. I don't know.
Well, these guys are really cute. I mean, you want to zoom up on this guy? He's a
There we go.
he's a very cute one. You know, you'll notice that this comes from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services that created this little comic book as a, kind of an attention getter to bring attention to the concept of being self-reliant, self-sufficient, prepared for disasters. That's what the whole thing is. You notice at the very end they have this nice little handy checklist, all hazards emergency kit. And it's essentially kind of like it's pretty much a 72-hour kit kind of thing, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
In the church, a lot of times people talk about that as a means for preparedness. My guess is, looking at the fact that they sent this in connection with their announcement, NICDC. Okay, so here's NICDC rules. I believe it was this one. Here's their flyer, just announcing the competition. We did one of these back in February. Originally, they planned to do it in November, and they pushed it back a little bit. We ended up doing it in February of last year. The email that I sent out to all CIT majors and minors and anybody that has any CIT-related designation on their transcripts, I used that list and sent out this list of rules, the flyer with information about when the event is going to be, which is November 15th. Let's see if we can look at this one. There we go. This is the one coming up in February. They've got a whole list of what's going to happen. Essentially what happened last time is it's an all-day competition, and it's oriented towards cyber defense. So a lot of times that sounds like it's going to be a hacker fest, like you're going to go hack people. Well, no, it's defending against that. Cyber defense means they put you in a scenario where, if you've ever heard of a red team or blue team event, this is essentially you get to be the blue team. You're going in and trying to operate an organization, a sample network, in a business as usual format. Last time it was, if I remember right, they had I think 2 different servers and 4 hosts. They had 6 different devices. I think they had a router and a firewall on their sample network that they were given. They were in a virtualized environment. ISU creates these environments. They've got all the hardware to host it. They get it up and running and then connect you in and put you in the position like you're administering the network. They give you, passwords and that kind of stuff to get into and remotely administer what's on the servers and those kinds of things. But it says that they welcome you at 7:30. Competition starts at 8. So they give you just a very short time to kind of orient you, and then they basically just say, here it is, go. They give you a half-hour lead time. Once they give you that stuff, they'll give you the stuff at like 8. They'll give you a half an hour lead time to go through and get familiar with your environment and do everything you can to try and secure that environment before actual red teamers. These are going to be professionals in the information security field. Last time they were guys that had broken off and started their own company that did penetration testing and intrusion detection, both sides. But they had professionals that were graduates of the program, of the NIATEC program, that were now working in those kinds of areas, become the penetration testing team, or the red team. So you get a half-hour lead time, and then these guys start knocking on your door to see what's going on, and it's their goal to try and break into your systems and cause problems. And you've got throughout your day, you both try to secure the environment that you're in, but you're also given regular day-to-day business objectives, such as They may ask you to do a presentation to the employees of your company on information security awareness, or train them on issues such as password management, or things that a information security professional would be expected to be able to do. They'll also give you operational challenges, such as last time they had to. The scenario was that they had to take 2 doctors' offices and merge them together and create. They had to update the. They're getting blocks on there. Anyway, they had to update their website with the merger. They had to change the website around to reflect the merger of the 2 companies, and so they give you operational challenges as you go through the day as well. The terminology they use, they refer to them as injects. Basically, what it is just a challenge. Here's a scenario. Here's a challenge. Go do the work. And so as you go throughout the day, that's what you're doing. You're constantly trying to monitor what's happening on your systems. Anytime that you can become aware of somebody on your system, and maybe if you can communicate that back, or if you can do something to go through processes of eradication, of containment, of booting the hacker out of your system and closing up the hole and patching it, being able to do like a post hoc analysis of how did they get in, what did we do to try and to close up the hole or to patch the problem, and then turn around and report that back to a boss. They want you to do professional style documentation of the event and presentation of your action plan and call it a plan of action and milestones, POA and M, progress points of what how you're completing the work. So that's about a 10,000 foot view. That's about as much as I was going to kick off with. What other questions do you guys have?
Where would we start preparing for this?
Well, where do you start with securing your own computer? It's usually how I kick it back and say, well, the same kinds of things. What that's referred to as hardening.
Okay.
A good place to start is go out and look at hardening guides. There are vendor-specific hardening guides that are created. Windows operating systems have hardening guides. Apple, Linux environments may or may not have as good of documentation. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, depending on the flavor and the level of support. There are government standards. The DISA, the Defense Information Security Agency, I think that's what they call it, DISA. They have, I can't remember the acronym now, I just know the acronym because I've used it too much, but they publish what they call the gold standards for hardening. Those are good things to get to know, but essentially that's where they start, is just best practices and how to keep people out.
Okay.
So stuff like turning off unneeded services, it's creating sound password policies that require people to change their passwords or whatever. There's things like, let's see, what else can I think of off the top of my head? Creating group policies in a Windows environment. When you're mixed across platforms, which they were last time, they had some Linux environments, and they had some Windows-based environments and hosts, and they had to be able to secure both. You want to understand your firewall configurations and capabilities. What can and can't it do? Because you may have some capabilities, and you may not. You don't know exactly what kind of hardware you'll be working on until you get there.
Okay.
So the best thing you can do is train on is a wide variety of hardware and software. Yeah.
What is the time commitment?
It's a full day. We will leave. Last time we left at about 6:30. Oh, in preparation, that's up to you. I don't set times where you have to be here or not. I leave that all up to teams. My line of thinking on that is that the teams that seem to perform the best are the ones that kind of self-organize and self-manage and self-run. If you're waiting on an instructor, a teacher, to tell you what to do all the time, you're going to perform really poorly in the actual event. Did you go over Linux?
No, they had pizza.
Oh, that's why you went over there.
No, I got a call from my
Oh, okay. So time and preparation, I leave that up to your teams to kind of work that out. I can facilitate. I can request space and rooms all over campus. I can help set up environments with you. Usually what we'll do is we've got space out on our virtual servers. And last time the teams that expressed interest, we got them set up and gave them space, gave them make sure that we got licenses for all the software that they needed, got them set up so that they could practice. I'm not going to go out and set it all up for you unless you're going to show me that you really are going to use it, because I don't have time to spend all my day setting up environments that nobody comes and uses. And I've done that in the past. Started to set stuff up and nobody came and used it. So I said, okay, I'm done doing that. If you're serious about it, let me know. Come work with me and I'll get it set up with you. Or I'll just turn over the controls and let you do it. Either way, the installation is going to be worth your time too, because it helps you get inside the back door to understand what the guys that are creating the virtual systems are doing. That's good training. Yeah.
Are you thinking to go in the February competition?
This was the February one. We'll go to the one in this year. Yeah, we'll go to the one in November this year. It's November the 15th is the date
Do you
they've
think
set.
it would be enough time to prepare for it from now on?
Mhm.
Enough?
Yeah, they've actually given us a lot more time to prepare this time. Last time it was a little bit tighter schedule because it was in February. We only had about 3-4 weeks to get ready. We did know about it in November, but a lot of teams didn't really get too organized until we got back into school, and they only had a couple weeks to really get going. This time you've got just shy of 2 months to get ready. And my recommendation is start now when there's not so much going on in the semester. A lot of times you don't have quite as heavy of a workload at the beginning. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But I'd recommend every spare minute you can find, you keep looking at tools and methods. I recommend that you play around with, basically the way that they do this is anything open source is free game in the competition. If they're proprietary software, that kind of thing, or even if they're just trial versions, those are free game. If they're proprietary, like you have to buy them, they're not legal in the game. So anything that you can get open source and download and run, you can use in the competition. So
download it while you're at the competition. It's not letting you take it with you.
Yeah. But you can anything that's openly and available. You can do things like create forums. And last time they did that, they used the Linux Society's forum, where they started just posting stuff back and forth, and that way it was wide open. You can use that to organize yourself. So if you're posting out links and notes and all that kind of stuff, you can use that in the competition. So if that's speeding you up, so you can just go click on links and download it and get everything set up, it's speeding you up a little bit.
So it just helps sort of a file that has everything you need on it.
Mhm.
Okay.
But you want to be conscious of how long does this take to download? How long does it take to configure and get up and running? Because time is of the essence. You may not always have the time that you want to be able to work with the tools that you have. So be conscious of that as you're practicing with them as well. Yeah.
We'll be using their computers. Okay.
You do bring your. They do ask that you bring your own laptop, but what it does, all it's for is to connect into their virtual environment. Competitors need to bring laptops, RDP capability.
So RDP means
Remote desktop. Yeah. And they'll last time they had you in both on a remote desktop connection and in a Microsoft environment, and they also had SSH capability. You could just, so it didn't matter your platform, you could get in and command line to anything. Yep. Or if you're on an Apple, you're just pulling up the terminal. You can SSH straight in from that. Or if you're in Linux, you do the same thing. Yep. Go for it.
I know several semesters ago we had 2 teams. 4.
Yep. And
I wasn't here for I came in late, so I don't
they're
know.
open to multiple teams from each university.
Okay.
It's an invitational tournament. Last time there were 6 teams that ended up showing up. We took 2, BYU took 2, ISU had a team from their School of Technology, not from their NIATEC group. They purposely disallow themselves from being involved in it because they run it. So, but their School of Technology, they had a team, and then there was a high school team that came and played. A team that had been in, they had been in a couple of competitions because they're down in Utah and lived near Hill Air Force Base in Ogden, and so they'd been involved in some of those high school competitions that are doing essentially the same thing. And they came and played against us, and everybody was really nervous that they were going to do more, worse than the high school team. Yeah, we didn't. Thank heavens, all of our teams came in ahead of the high school team. But remember, they're doing the same kinds of things. It's just that they're starting at a younger age. A lot of them have about the same level. That was about it last time. So three universities and a high school.
Oh.
But they invited Utah State, Weber State, Boise State, Utah Valley, several of those colleges, and several of those universities, and none of them even put up a team. So
It was the first time they were running
Yep.
it too, so.
it's hard to get people convinced to be the guinea pigs because everybody's like, oh, I want to know how this runs before I get involved.
Yeah.
That's what I think. They're silly because our guys won $500 a piece for the ones that won it, so because we came in second. We didn't have a whole lot of competition, so your chance at money was really good last time.
What about this time looks like?
I think this time
Who knows?
We'll see when
I
we
think
get
there's a
there,
good
but-
chance just because they've run it once and there's been a little bit word. I can tell I've got a lot more students that are interested in it this time. Last time it was like pulling teeth to get anybody to come and talk to me about it. This time I've already got 5 here plus 6 online plus several other students that I know that are interested that have just talked to me about it casually. What's that?
They weren't able to make it. Or...
Weren't able to make it. Yep.
A lot of people were down in interviews.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So, we've got 5 viewers on there now. Now you're going back into the eternal tunnel.
There's a career fair. down in
Oh.
The STEM fair.
STEM fair.
Science and technology. If you need the information from this again, let me know. Most people tend to just delete messages that they can tell are bulk messages, and so if you need me to resend this, let me know.
You sent
I
that
can't.
to all of us.
What's that?
You sent this to all of
Yeah,
us.
sent out. I sent the rules, the suggested reading, and the flyer that they sent to me. The comic book. Yeah,
So that may be the environment that you're working in.
I think that's the scenario that they're going to have you operating against.
Working with health,
Health and Human Services, and
human services and-
or you're working with some, maybe a district health office or something like that, and that's probably most likely the scenario you'll
Maybe
be in.
knowing some of the vocabulary about what
Mhm.
you need.
Couldn't hurt.
could help.
Maybe enough medicine.
So read the comic book and do some searches on zombie apocalypse and see what you come up with, and see if or just learn about the health field. Yeah.
I have a question. You were talking about giving a presentation while you were doing the
Mhm.
project. I don't understand that you give the real
You got it.
presentation.
Yeah, you've got a team of 4, and that's what they did last time. That was the challenge. They said, "You're somebody on the team. We're coming to you. Somebody on the team needs to present to the employees of our organization on." I don't remember exactly what the topic was. It had something to do with a security awareness kind of topic.
Someone is on the computer, the other one is gonna
Mhm.
talk and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And so you kind of come and go. They'll give you. They do give you the opportunity to go to the bathroom and go to the water fountain and eat lunch, but you kind of trade off as you do it because you always want somebody aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And they didn't allow us to bring food and drink into the rooms last time because they've got a really fancy meeting room and they didn't want it getting messed up. And the sponsor, I think it was the Simplot one. Anyway, it was a business sponsor that put a lot of money into building that room, and they asked that we keep food out. So that's why they had to kind of swap out. If you want snacks, okay, hit the hall for a minute, come back in, come back at it.
November 23rd,
November 15th.
15th,
Mm-hmm.
just one day.
They started at 8. We were done at about this was really interesting. By about 4 o'clock, they decided to get real aggressive.
Yeah.
And by 4:30, they had every team shut down. The hackers had destroyed everybody's systems in a half hour. They decided to really just unleash the floodgates, and in a half hour, they had everything down.
Oh, my God.
Because everybody thought they were doing really good until that point, and then they realized, okay, maybe we didn't have everything secured as well as we thought. Yeah, it's guys that had graduated from NIATEC that had professional contacts that had done penetration testing and that kind of stuff. And when they were done, they even gave kind of a post hoc. After 5 o'clock, they had the short awards ceremony where they showed you how everybody had scored and gave the awards and everything. And then they had an interview with the red team. They just had them on for about 20-30 minutes where they talked about. The red team even pulled up and showed some of their tools that they were using and what it looked like from their perspective as they brought everything down. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, just to watch the look on everybody's faces as they go, how the heck did they do that? But you realize just how vulnerable systems are. You think that the basics cover you, and they do to an extent. But when you've got a fairly sophisticated adversary, they know some interesting tricks. And yeah.
Do you think Apple's iCloud is vulnerable too?
This is my statement when I've taught the information security class before. If a human being can make it, a human being can break it. Given enough time, means, resources, I have yet to see a system that wasn't true. Yes?
If we haven't taken that class yet.
It's not gonna be a make or break it point for you. Honestly, and they have the same attitude for that program up there when they're accepting you into their MBA program. You do an MBA, but it's with an emphasis in information assurance. They'll take you from whatever major. They don't care.
Really?
What they're interested in is your level of interest, and your desire, your hunger, your passion. Those are usually the words that they use when they're talking about what we're looking for in an ideal candidate. It's somebody that's committed enough to turn this into a career. They want people coming into the program that are committed to making that particular area part of their, major part of their career. Now, I went through the program. I'm not currently teaching information security, but the training that I went through, the MBA program and computing security, prepared me to come back and be a teacher. It's really what the program was originally written for. They at the time that the lead teacher, his name's Dr. Scow, when he was involved in starting that program, he wrote his grant because of the lack of professorate or teachers at the university level that could teach information security topics outside of cryptography. There were lots of cryptologists and cryptographers at the time, but they recognized that security is a much broader spectrumed problem than just cryptography. And so he wrote the grant requesting money for funding to be able to start an education program that would help train and teach future professionals that would go into a wider variety of fields. And they wanted to be able to get people at the graduate level that would go on, earn graduate degrees, and come back and teach at the undergraduate level so that they could continue to expand security into more areas than just cryptology.
What school are you talking about?
Idaho State University. Mm-hmm. So now they have a scholarship for service program, which is a federal program that encourages students to, it'll pay for your grad school, but you have a 2-year commitment to work for a federal agency when you're done. It's an abbreviated program, somewhat based on what they do in the military, where quite often you can go through your schooling and they'll pay for your schooling, but you have a commitment to either enlist in the military or work for the military when you're done. What's that?
No, right?
What's that?
CSI.
No,
Never mind.
no. CSI is private. It's semi-government, but it's not military or federal government. It's CSI would be more at a state or local level.
Wait, you have to join the military?
In some programs, some scholarship for service programs that they've done in the past were to get students into the military or to get people into the military.
You can specify if you wanted that.
This program has nothing to do with the military.
Okay.
If you work, there are people that have gone to work for military organizations, but they go in as civilian employees.
Okay.
Because there's people that work for the Air Force now has the bailiwick to cover, or the responsibility to handle cyber warfare. That's a presidential directive that they're the ones that handle it. And so there are a couple of the people in the program that have gone to work for I don't remember the number now, 567th runs in my mind, but I can't remember exactly the number. There's a division of the Air Force that is specifically devoted to cyber warfare issues. They're non-military. There are branches of the Air Force that are military that do the same thing. There are branches of the Army, the Navy, the Marines that all do the same thing, cyber warfare, but they're not the ones specifically charged with that effort. And there's more to it than just cyber warfare. If you start getting into these terms, you'll find that cybersecurity, cybersecurity typically means security issues regarding distributed computing and networking. It should, but it often doesn't seem to encompass like mainframe computing. It should encompass cloud computing. It's getting to where it does that more. Cloud computing is a funny term. It's just basically means you outsourced your distributed networking and computing to someone else. The outsourcing relationship doesn't always translate well to cybersecurity and government terminology. But then if you start looking at other terms like information assurance, that looks at both the offensive and defensive sides of cyber warfare. Cyber warfare typically looks more at the offensive side than it does the defensive side. Information assurance typically includes more of the defensive side. Information operations gets outside of the computers and talks about how humans operate within that sphere, gets into spy versus spy kind of issues. And information assurance touches on a lot of those kinds of issues as well, the human factors. But information operations deals with propaganda, information sharing, and being able to not really control, but influence. I got to watch my words on this one. Being able to influence media relations and what the public knows and what the private sector knows and what your enemies know, and managing that flow of information so that it brings about the kind of benefits that allow you to strategically take advantage of your competition or your adversary.
The program must be hard to study.
That's a relative term. Difficult is a relative term.
You have to be accepted.
Yep. They do two different hurdles that you cross as they evaluate your application.
And NIATEC will not accept you until you're accepted.
Yep. It's the only scholarship for service program in the United States that operates under a school of business, at least last that I knew.
For most of them.
All of the others are either sciences, typically computer science,
Why it's
or
under MBA?
engineering. Why is that?
Why is it under MBA?
Because couple reasons. One, their orientation is that they gear their program to prepare you to become like the CIO or the CISO, the Chief Information Officer or the Chief Information Security Officer of a government agency. That's really what their program is geared towards helping you prepare to do. If you want to become a technical specialist, you can go through this program and do that, and there's several people that do that. There are other schools that are more oriented towards teaching and training you the technical knowledge of hardware, of computer engineering, of computer science, theory, those kinds of things. This program is more geared toward leadership in those areas. That's why they combine it with an MBA program. At least that's my take on it.
So what resources would be available to help us prepare for this?
What do you want?
What do they give us resources for?
When you mean ISU?
Yeah.
Yes, when you get there, they will create the virtual environments that you'll use.
So like
They house the hardware, and then they've got the software that runs it all. In preparation, we've got a similar type of system we can set you up on. They use Hyper-V, hypervisor. We use VMware, Microsoft's virtualization stack. VMware is VMware's stack of virtualization software, but for purposes of the competition, that's irrelevant because you don't get into the Hyper-V layers anyway.
Yeah, so it's just be setting up.
It's already set up.
So anything that you can set up in VMware, they will do in Hyper-V, but for the purpose of the competition, that won't matter because you won't even get into those layers. You know, you'll be dealing with just the environment of a couple servers, couple hosts, router, firewall. That's about what they did last time. They may add. They've been trying to get more hardware so they could handle more larger competitions and heavier duty stuff. But it's, you know, they realize that if they make it too big, you don't have time to manage everything. So they try to make it. They try to scale it so that it's something that's feasible for you to work with in a day. You know, otherwise it'd be so big. There's no way you could secure everything in a highly distributed, 100 host, 10 server environment. You probably wouldn't have time to take care of everything. So they're trying to keep it scaled appropriately. Josh Bench is, and he's down. He's planning on doing it again, but he is down in Provo. Ty Rasico is just finishing up. He's still working through the, what do you call that? Siri. He's still finishing up something for them, so he technically still could qualify because he hasn't, his degree hasn't posted yet from what I've heard. So he could still qualify. Diego's gone. Greg's gone. Colby's still around. Colby Cooley. Alex Hernandez, I don't know if has he graduated?
So I haven't.
Anyway, some yes, some no.
The reason I mention those is because those you probably want to talk.
Yep, and Josh is planning to be involved with it.
Where should we start?
The other thing that you want to get connected in with Josh, and he will be back next week. But Josh and Greg and a couple others last semester, during the spring semester, they started building their own environments and coming up with some scenarios to be able to run their own practice competitions here. So they've got some of that built, and I know it was out on our virtual servers. I think it still is out there. We just have to contact them to get access back into it. You'll notice that if you get into I have a Google community set up. It's highly disorganized, but it's got everything out there. They've got some of their network diagrams that they used to build it. They were keeping documentation on what they were doing out there, so you have some of that stuff available.
So what would be the best way to contact them?
Hopefully very nicely. If you have a nice, tone in your voice, that'll help. I have email addresses. You can look them up on the student directory. They'll have their email and
So the name, Greg.
the one that I know of is Josh Bench. I know he is planning to be involved in it again. He's still in taking classes. Yep, the other ones I can list off for you. Actually, I had this up a little while ago today. Do I still have it on there? There it is. Yeah, there we go. Kenan Fenton actually graduated and is now down at ISU. He got into their program. Alex Thomason is still around. He's currently in my project management class, but I don't believe he ended up going. He just expressed interest last time from what I remember. Alex Hernandez and Colby Cooley was the other one. Those two were both, Josh Bench and Colby Cooley and Alex Hernandez were all three on that team, and I think they're all still here.
That one.
The team that took second.
You're guessing the team that won was from ISU?
Nope. Team that won was from BYU.
BYU.
Mhm.
Portland?
Yep.
Okay.
And it was
in it on 12.
and it was interesting because before the lead professor that came from BYU, they had just come from the Colorado Cyber Defense Competition, the regional one. They have a whole series of these that they do, and if you get involved with them, we could take a team to them. Typically in the past, they've been on Sundays, and so BYU and BYU-Idaho have not participated. Last year was the first time that the Colorado Regional was held on a Friday, Saturday. And so their team had just competed in this and then came to this competition. And they had just kind of, they had performed fairly well at that regional competition, but that's, I think, one of the reasons why they ended up winning this one is because they had had some prior experience right before coming to this one. And his comment, though, is that it was interesting watching the teams because even before all the points came out, we'd been, the other professors had been kind of walking around looking at the teams, and we had all pretty well agreed where we felt like the standings were. And then when they came up on the scoring system, nobody liked the scoring system because it did miss things. It did have some bugs to it. But the scoring system still came out with about the same level as what we had thought. Yeah. Yeah, their scoring system is automated. It's watching what's happening on the network and giving points for what's happening on that network. The presentations that you give, those were scored by the professors that were there.
Oh, I see.
We sat in and watched those, and then we kind of
So you could win by just being
counseled together.
You probably couldn't win, but you get some bonus points.
Yeah, you do. It feeds into the scoring system. So the points that are awarded there feed into it. They may or may not do it exactly the same way. On purpose, they try to mix it up. They try to hit you with stuff that you're not prepared for. So the best thing you can do to train is purposely think like that. If I was building this thing, how would I try to fool somebody?
Or go against it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same principle for an information security professional. You got to spend time thinking about both sides of the box.
Yeah.
If you want to defend the box, you can't just think of defense all the time or you're missing stuff. You can't just think of offense all the time or you're missing stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a good practice to kind of practice thinking that way. Yeah. Cool. Other questions? You guys have been really good to give some good ones here. Do you feel like you're ready now?
Yeah. Ready to get started, yes.
Like I said, the best thing you can do is practice. So I would encourage you, exchange contact info here.
Yeah.
If you want to get tied in with the Google communities that I've set up. I don't think the Google communities was the right solution for this. So if you think of other collaboration solutions that you could use, we have one student that's really interested in a solution called Slack. He really likes it. It's another collaboration solution. There's 100 of them out there. Find one that you're comfortable with and use it. I think Nathan's got them all set up, and we could start a new group for this and get you in on that, and that'd be another way to do it. I just encourage you, don't use tools just because somebody said so. Think of, try it out, see if you like it. Compare and contrast the functionality of what it's going to do for you, and then decide on which one's most appropriate.
Should I read a book first, or?
I don't know of a book that's been written on how to win the CDC, the CCDC.
Wow.
Although there is a PowerPoint that I found.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, and it's out on the Google communities. I can share that kind of stuff with you. It was a presentation that was created by a guy that was a red teamer.
Yeah.
He was a professional guy that come in as a red teamer.
Yeah.
So he just wrote some notes, and he published it out on a Google Drive once, and I saw it as we were preparing for the competition and put it out there.
Yeah.
So he gives some advice on there of what he recommends you do.
Even if we don't do well, it's a lot of experience for
It's
us.
worth doing. Yeah.
And one of the best things it does for you is it gets you asking questions in class.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
And
You start asking all your CIT class and
Mhm.
teachers, how do you do this?
Uh-huh. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You'll find that you learn more from those questions than anything.
Yeah.
Well, I have 4 different CIT teachers, so it should be fun.
Yep.
Well,
And if you ask all of them, they'll probably all give you a different answer.
There you go.
But that prepares you with a Swiss Army knife, so that when you go into the competition, you don't have just one answer. And if it doesn't work in that environment, oh, I'm hosed. I've got 4 different ways of approaching that problem. That's a whole lot better level of preparation. Yeah. So go team.
Yeah.
yay,
All right.
My door's open. If you
Freshman
have
team,
questions,
yeah.
if there's anything I can do to help you,
We'll let you know.
please do so. But I rely on you guys to become fairly self-organizing, because that's the nature of the competition.
yeah.
Is there a certain time that you want us to tell them what our teams are?
When you're ready.
Before the competition.
Is there
Yeah,
like a certain
before
date you
November
submit it?
Actually, yes. I think we've got October. It's roughly 4 weeks before the competition. Around the middle of October that we've got to register. If we register and if we pull out after those dates, we lose deposit money. We'll actually have to put up deposit money
What
on
is
it.
the entry fee price?
I think it's $50. No, not per person, just per team, I believe. At least that's what they did last time. And then they don't. If you come and perform, they don't cash the check, so it doesn't cost you anything.
Oh, really? Fantastic.
But they do that just so that you're actually committed. And if you pull out, it costs you money.
Tell you what, this is worth more than $10.
Yeah. Oh,
So you guys don't have to worry about putting up any of the money. It's the school that does. But I would ask you to keep that in mind, that if you're pulling out, it's costing the school money.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Or if you need to pull out, make sure that you're arranging other team members that could fill your place. I'd encourage you at this point to try and just get as many people interested as you can. Don't worry about forming teams.
Okay.
Maybe two weeks from now, when we actually need to register, then we'll worry about who's on what team. And I'll probably build it. What I did last time was you'll see this list that I created last time. We created the 2 teams, and then both teams actually had one guy drop out and one guy that we had to pull off the alternate list to be able to do it. What's that?
That's my name up there.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to go because they changed the date.
Yeah. So, and that happens, but we're better off organizing that way than we are committing to, I'm on this team today, and then getting to November 13th and having something go wrong, and I forgot my brother's getting married this weekend.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff happens all the time. So I prefer to keep more of a loose structure and have you guys working together as much as you can.
Because then
So,
you get everybody's.
Having our teams just having everybody that's going to do it work together.
Yep.
Rather than having set teams.
I like that.
And don't box yourself into everybody has to be there in order for us to meet. Don't do that. If 2 of you can meet on a night, do it. If 3 of you can meet, do it. As much as you can. If you can share what happens from your practice runs, I encourage you to do things like, that's one reason why we did the Google community, so that you could just turn on Google Hangouts, let it record like this, and then when you're done, let it post up there. That way, if anybody else missed it but wants to catch what happened that night, they can go back and scrub through it. They may not watch the whole thing, but you can scan forward and back and see if there's anything that catches your attention, or go talk to the people and say, what do I need to watch? What were your highlights? Okay, I'll go back and watch about those points. And it gives you a way to communicate when you can't be synchronous, when you can't be in the same place at the same time. So try to think outside the box. The box often is things like, I think everybody has to be here for us to do anything. That's not true. Get used to thinking outside the box, because that's really what they encourage you to do in this kind of a competition. Don't assume that just because you think there was a rule, if it hasn't been stated, exploit it. Exploit the rule.
So is there a specific rule book for this that's posted somewhere, or
Just this.
just this is
The
all
flyer has competition details. It has some guidelines on what to do and what not to.
fantastic, like less than loose rules.
Is that going to be identical to one of the?
the one that I sent out is the one for this time. I just pulled up the one that I had handy. There's really not a whole lot of change from what I saw. I have to go through it more with the fine-tooth comb too to see if there was differences, but I haven't done that yet. So
It's exactly the same for here, so.
yeah, there's still
So the one that's interesting is number 3, respond to business requests. So they had requests that were coming to them, but we're asking them to do certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have some tasks that you're doing, like upgrade this server.
or you may get some new software. You'll be like, oh, we just bought this new software package. You got to get it installed and configured as while you're in the middle of the
While
rest of
that's
it.
happening,
Yeah.
while you're installing, working on those requests, that the stuff happens.
Yeah.
So like I say, they give you a half-hour head start. Best thing you can do is have a plan of attack for how you're going to spend that half hour.
Yeah.
And, plan flexibly. If this environment, we follow these guidelines. If this environment, we follow these guidelines. If this piece of hardware, we do this kind of thing to it.
Yeah.
And start to prepare like checklists and that kind of thing. And practice at it and drill at it and time yourself. Learn how to make the very most out of that half hour. So when you get in there, there were a couple of key things that the BYU team did that none of the rest of the teams did that gave them a very, very much an advantage. And that was one of them.
Just
They
have a plan.
had a plan of exactly what to do, who was going to do what,
Okay.
and they had a set list of these are all the things that we need to be thinking about.
Okay.
And once they got in there, they were able to say, okay, we practiced all these things. Let's do this, this, and this. You do that, you do that, you do that. Boom. When you're done, we'll pick another thing off the list, get it done. Boom. And they were highly organized, and they could, that gave them a big leg up. For the first about 2.5 hours of the competition, they were bored because they had that all up and running. And they could sit back and just watch. And then after about that first 2.5 hours, there got to be some more interesting things that got them up and hopping a little bit. But for the first 2.5 hours, they were gold. They didn't have anything to worry about.
What sort of environments would we be on? Would be like a Windows one, a Mac one, any others that we need to be careful?
And when you talk Windows, it could be many different versions.
Oh, so
They
any
could throw
sort of
you an
platform.
XP box, even though it's unsupported
Yeah.
anymore. And then you got to figure out what to do with the
Okay.
unsupported problems.
I get what you're saying.
So get familiar with
So,
a variety of those environments.
You
Think
just get there and
think
they
about
have an old business system.
They could throw you a Commodore 64 and say, you got to support this.
all right.
Has anybody ever even heard of a Commodore 64 in this room? You have, right? Okay. That's what I had when I was 5.
They actually typed them.
Yeah. And you put in the disk, and it didn't have an operating system in it.
Oh.
You had to put in the disk to load the thing up.
All right.
If you didn't have a disk in, just sit there and flash, nothing there.
Trash Radio Shack.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They loaded the program to a cassette.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
And I remember to load a program, you'd put in the disk, you'd boot up the thing, you'd switch it, put in a new disk, type load, what was it? Load, quote, title of the program, asterisk dot asterisk, close the quote, and then you have to put in some extra parameters after that. Enter. That would go out to the disk, figure out what to find on the disk, load it. And it would take probably some of the games that I used to play as a kid, it took 5 minutes for them to load just before you could even do anything. You'd sit there and wait for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long time to wait,
Yes.
especially when you're a kid. But so usually I just turn it on, let it go, walk away, come back. Oh, there, it's ready to go. Yeah. So you never know what they're going to throw at you. Try to think, look back at history. What were common environments 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Don't be surprised that they may give you something bleeding edge and they'll mix it with something extremely old. And good luck.
For Vista, yeah.
Vista's still supported.
Yeah, no.
Might throw you Windows 98 and say, good luck.
All right.
Okay.
We need to start moving.
Okay, we need to head out. So thank you much. We'll stop this broadcast. Hey, we're down to 2 viewers. two of them that stuck around. Thank you for sticking around. Good work. Oh, Josh Bench joined the chat for a minute, and then he left. So hopefully he heard his name thrown around and knows that you guys are coming.
Sounds good.
All right.